Well, greetings everyone. My name is Gina Lazenby. I'm the host of Conscious Cafe Global, and we have a lovely presentation. I'm going to say evening. This is evening for us in the UK, but we have a lovely group from all over the world, and Christine herself is dialing into us from Albuquerque. And our session tonight is engaging with our loving Mother Earth. And let me tell you a little bit about Christine. Christine has been known as a mystical physician, Dr. Christine Page, mystical physician. She's been a pioneer in the field of holistic healthcare for over 45 years. In fact, Christine, I remember your book on my library in the 1990s was all my healing books. Christine has been doing in her field in medicine is focusing on ways to enhance spiritual wholeness, the whole aspect of the person. She says she was raised among healers, homeopaths, and mediums, and that her own highly attuned intuitive gifts allow her to not only psychically interact with her clients, but also with light beings across the dimensions, including those within the natural world. She's the author of 9 books, including Frontiers of Health. And she's telling us tonight about a book that she's written that's waiting to be published. And she told us the title was, a draft title is The Magic of Mother Earth, which Judy and I love. So Christine, handing over to you. And if we're all in the room, we would applaud. We're all going to wave and say welcome to Christine.
Thank you, everybody. Lovely to be with you. Thank you, Gina. Thank you, Judy, for inviting me. And lovely to be with people I know, old friends and new friends. I always love that. So we're all connected. And as you say, it's as if we're in the same room together. I'm very happy to hand the admittance over to Gina or Judy. So I'll focus now. And Gina will be helping us in other ways as well, I know. So some of you were going to be listening to this as a recording. So welcome those who aren't present with us now. This subject, and I want to just give a little introduction to it, is very, very close to my heart, as is everything I do. I'm a typical Gemini. I've got fingers in many pies. But when I was young, I was brought up, just to let you know, those of you who don't know me, I've always been in tune with the spirit world. I've always been intuitive. I've always been psychically sensitive. I thought everybody could see energies, could communicate with the spirit world. Of course, I did think it was a bit of a scary place to arrive, it just being so much energy in everybody around me. But I, like many of you, was wandering around. Maybe if you're living in Britain, would be around Stonehenge or Avebury. And we all can remember those times where you could wander around Stonehenge and nobody would be bothered whether you were going there. And as a family, we would travel to different places. My mother's Scottish, so we would go to places up in Scotland. But it wasn't until I was invited to go to the Isle of Arran off the west coast of Scotland as a 15-year-old on an outward bound course, a course where we were going to do caving and mountain climbing and all those things. And one afternoon, it was an afternoon off, and it was, you can either go shopping or you could stay in the camp or you could go to some sacred sites. And probably because I didn't have any money to go shopping, I thought, hey, let's go out and see some sacred sites. And I went to we were in this bus, we all got off, and I could already feel the energy, even though it was drizzling, as it tends to do in that part of the world. And it was misty, and I couldn't see anything. And I suppose there was a little bit of me saying, why am I here? But all of a sudden, the mist cleared. And here were these magnificent standing stones as part of the island of Arran, very ancient, 5,000-year-old stones. And it was as if I was coming home. And here it felt that these stones were speaking to me. And I wandered around them and was very psychically sensitive to impressions they gave me. It almost felt like they were talking to me. And it wasn't until I heard this beep, beep, beep that I was, oh, I better get back on the bus. And I thought I'd been there for hours and it had just been 20 minutes. And someone who was brought up, I was brought up with the College of Psychic Studies in London and the SAGB in London. Being psychic wasn't surprising. It was the fact that these stones were talking to me that was so surprising. And once I realized that the stones were talking to me, I realized that all of nature was talking to me. And in fact, Gaia was a very conscious living being in her own right. And so from that time, I started to get my family holidays to let's go and look at those stones, or let's go and visit that place. Because my brother and sister weren't so amused by it all. But we would wander around Europe. Fortunately, again, in those days, we just could travel by car across Europe. And I was very fortunate to go to many beautiful sites, really listening to the stones. And I call myself a rock whisperer. Other people are animal whisperers. I'm really good with rocks. I think it must be part of my mechanism that I can speak to rocks very easily. And I find, if just to say, that rocks are like video cameras. They've been there for thousands, if not millions of years. And so they've been recording what's been going on all that time. So when I go to a sacred site, instead of, I might say, listening to the archaeologists or the guide, I listen to the stones. And so I say, stones, what have you been up to? What's been happening? And that's how I love traveling around. Now, I also like listening to trees, and I listen to animals. And as I'll describe in a little bit, all of those are living beings. Everything is alive. Everything is alive. But there are some aspects that are more alive than others. And it just reminds me of one of my first meetings I went to here in America with the Native Americans. And there was a gentleman in the row that I was in, sitting listening to this chief speaking, this elder speak. And all of a sudden, the elder stopped and he stared at this man. And I thought, what's he doing? And the man had pulled one of the chairs across to put his feet on the chair. And he said, did you ask that chair if it wanted to do that? Please put it back and ask permission to see if that chair wants to be supporting your feet. And it was that moment of, okay, even a chair is a life force, a life being that we need to honor. And I feel that one of the reasons that I'm so interested in this subject is that I think that we still have this old idea that we're here as guardians of Mother Earth and we need to be doing this, when really we are actually, as Bashar says, and some of you have come in touch with Bashar's work, we're living one of Gaia's dreams. We're one of the characters in one of his dreams, her dreams. And so instead of being her guardian, we're one of her children, as is everything on this planet. And so knowing that to be true, then we need to be better guests or better children or more respectful children. And one of the things I want to share with you today is really the importance of being able to quieten the mind, open the heart, and being able to resonate with what's coming towards us. So this is what we're going to be doing in this workshop. We'll have a short meditation now, and then I'll have a longer meditation, really moving ourselves away from the idea that we're walking on this surface of this earth. I want you to get an idea that we're actually part of the earth. We're part of her fabric. And to do that, we need to, if I may say, move away from this idea of up and down. And I'm going to be bringing us into an idea that we're living in a sphere of consciousness. And that's the first part of the meditation that I want us to do. So always with my meditations, you're very welcome to turn off your cameras. If you want to close your eyes, you're very welcome to leave your camera on. But I'm going to be asking you to close your eyes. So if you would, just prepare yourself. And Gina took us through a very nice breathing exercise. But now what I like to do is take a short breath in and a long out breath down through your body, breathing all those thoughts that you've come to the seminar with, everything, taking it down through your body into your feet, into Mother Earth. Obviously, if your feet are on the ground, that's even better because you can at least move all the energy. Short in, long out. And even have a little sigh out, breathing out through your mouth. You don't need to be doing anything else for the next hour and a quarter. You're in exactly the right place. Breathe out all the thoughts of the future and of the past. Now settle your breathing. Take your awareness to your deep heart, the deep part of your chest. Feel this very slow heartbeat of the deep heart. Quieten into it, nest into it. If your mind wanders, just gently bring it back to the heart. Now, through your heart, see yourself in a place of nature where there are tall trees around. Again, there may just be one or two tall trees, but a place that you like going to, but you do see these trees around you. It can be on a beach and it can be in the mountains. Listen to the wind in the branches and the leaves. You may hear water flowing. You may hear birds or insects. Smell the air. Feel your feet on the ground under your feet. Perhaps the wind on your face, sun. And just look around you, the colors, the forms, the shapes. Now come back to just your deep heart. You're still in this place of nature. Just imagine this auric field that is surrounding you, a beautiful sphere of energy. You can make it translucent, obviously, so we can see through it. Just imagine this gossamer, like a gossamer wings of an insect. You're in the center of this sphere. This is where your heart is, right in the center. And as you breathe in, your energy radiates out from the center into this nature scene around you, and everything becomes brighter and more beautiful. The colors are brighter. As you breathe in, the sounds are more beautiful, and then you breathe out, you bring that energy back into your heart again. And again, just keep doing that as you breathe in, go out to the edges of your sphere, we imagine, and there, all these beautiful colors and sounds and patterns. And then when you breathe out, you bring it back to your heart. Just do this a few times more. Experience you radiating into your own field of beauty around you. Now, as you rest your breathing, just be aware that there are certain trees or sounds or shapes or smells that you particularly are resonating with around you. Just don't pay too much attention at this moment, but, oh yes, I love the energy that came from that tree or that bird song. Just be aware of that. Just be mindful of how does that feel when I relate to something that's particularly vivid in my environment. Do I feel it in my body? Do I feel it in my heart? What happens to my body, my six senses? And now just keeping those thoughts in mind, no more, we're going to be doing more with that later. Gently bring the energy back to your heart again, as you've been doing. And then through your heart, bring yourself back into the room where you are. And in your own time, bring your awareness fully back into your conscious state with your eyes open. You may turn your cameras back on if you want. Welcome back. Those of you who either don't have cameras, that's wonderful. We know you're here. You may just be doing something that you'd rather we didn't see you, but we love your shiny faces. I love to see shiny faces. It makes me feel as if we are all in one room. So this exercise of a sphere, I want you to, if you take nothing else away with you, we are not linear, we are spheres. And as I'm going to be describing, it's like those Russian dolls, spheres within spheres within spheres. So we're changing our mindset of something that's approaching from one linear to another to being inwardly. So inside you, you have a sphere that is your heart, a sphere that is your liver, all these little spheres inside you bubbling around. You can call them bubbles as well. But one of the ways of really focusing those spheres is to that when we breathe in, we imagine filling that sphere, sending our radiations out into the universe. And when we breathe out, we bring all of that connection back into our hearts again. It's a beautiful thing to do wherever you go. That's what we're doing. We're radiating, touching other spheres, coming back into our heart. So now let's take a few steps back. And I love the fact that this is called the Conscious Cafe. So I'm delighted to be with you in the Conscious Cafe, because a lot of what I've been writing about is the word consciousness. And what does it mean to be conscious? And if you look at the meaning of the word conscious, it actually comes from the Latin scere, which is to know. And the con means to know together. So I see consciousness as a time of remembering. We are bringing together the knowingness of ourselves. And that took me back to what is written in the Apollo temple in Delphi, which is know thyself. So that knowing ourselves, being conscious are the same thing. I think if you want to talk about awakening or even ascension, it's the same sort of thing. It's like I'm not ascending out of, I'm ascending into. I'm becoming more of myself. And as I was researching this book, I looked into the beginning of the Bible, as one does when one starts researching a book. Why not go to the Bible? Perfect place. But in the beginning was the word. But in the beginning was this intention. And that intention was sent out into the world. Now, just taking it one step further, at the very beginning of the Bible, it says that, you know, before the fact that God created heaven and earth, God was, we might call it a unity. So we describe it as a dot. So here we are, God, creator, whatever you want to call it, is a dot, the Big Bang. And then God creates a circle around itself, thinking this is how it will know itself. And it says, well, no, you just know, it's like looking in the mirror. You don't know anything more. You're just experiencing that. So the next piece of the Bible is God created diversity. And the word diversity means it's split into many pieces in order to know itself. The phrase verse means to turn. It turned itself into many pieces. And that's where it says the spirit goes across the surface of the water and creates life. Now I'm giving you all that little story to say the Creator created everything in the universe in order to know itself. And because the next piece of the Bible says, and God created man in her image, in other words, we are also meant to be creative human beings who come, that through our relationships and our creations, we come to know ourselves. Hope that makes sense. We're here not to just create, we're here to know ourselves. And that's the meaning of the word consciousness. So consciousness is, how well do you know yourself? Okay, you all with me on this? Okay. So I remember I have a friend who was a medium. I think he is still alive, but he'd been doing this for 40 years. And he said, I see people coming in on one level of consciousness and going out on exactly the same level of consciousness. Nothing has changed. And what he said was, whatever spiritual practices you've been, whatever teachings, whatever you've read, unless you know yourself more fully because of those practices, nothing has changed in your level of consciousness. Whoopee! So the glorious part of this is the fact that it is about how well do you know yourself. So some of you have been with me many times, and you know that I describe it, now I'm describing it as a sphere. We are all these multi-petaled, leveled flowers. So I'm now having a sphere of flower rather than just a flower like a rose. In the center of that sphere is my soul. So my soul also split itself into diverse ways of irradiating its light. And those diverse places are what we call subpersonalities. And those subpersonalities are our petals. Gaia is also a living being who wants to know herself, because everything is a reflection of our God. Again, whatever word you want to use, don't get caught up on the word God. But Gaia created power places to be her subpersonality. Every power place, every sacred site that is attached to a natural power place, and not all of them are, but I say that just out there, all of them are Gaia's personalities. They are all living beings in their own right. So when we go to a different place, and it might be Stonehenge, maybe Avebury, maybe Easter Island, like I've just been to, or it may be Angkor Wat, which I've also just been to, all of these are living personalities of Gaia. And when we relate to them, they are radiating a certain frequency of consciousness, and it's awakening in us a frequency of consciousness that may be slumbering inside us. Make sense? All right. So our purpose is not to keep meeting the same situations in our life. Our purpose is to open other petals. And you might say, well, why did those petals get closed? Part of our conscious development is to come in with a clean slate. We might call it amnesia, but that we came in to discover ourselves through these relationships that we're creating around the world. So let me come just back to human beings, which we are. Let's say we've got many petals, and let's say one of your petals is as a caretaker. I know this one very well. I'm a rescuer, a caretaker, a fixer. Some of you might be the same. You know that petal really well. So I radiate out through, my soul radiates through this petal called the carer, my desire to take care of people. Guess what? I keep attracting people who need my care. Fabulous. But I don't attract them so that I take care of them. I attract them so I know myself as a carer. Does that make sense? Just checking with the nods and non. Okay. So we attract into our life things that will help us to know ourselves. So if I have, I won't say, but if I keep attracting lots of people who need my care, it tells me, oh, I'm a carer. That's that. However, if I stay for all my life as that one petal, I only have the conscious light that comes from that one petal. I have to have the courage to go to other petals in order to become more conscious. And every time I meet a part of myself out in the world that opens one of my petals, my light becomes stronger, my consciousness becomes stronger, and I start to have a stronger light body, and I become lighter in myself. I'm enlightened. That's the enlightening process. All right, so that's how it happens. If, therefore, and again, I know some of you have heard me say this before, if you have, we're now talking about, okay, let me stop before I go there. The way in which we know we're meeting someone who is resonating with one of our petals is that we have a reaction within our aura. Now, that aura is that sphere around you. So when you meet someone who you're enjoying how to be around them, and let's say you, oh, I saw this person, they were brilliant. I thought they were the most brilliant person out there, and they're lovely. You're meeting yourself. So you're resonating with them, and your little aura is going, woo! And we call it excitement. Yes? Other people, you'll say, did you notice that person? And they'll go, no. Didn't you think they were the best? Who? We only resonate with that which we already have within us. And the reason that we don't know it is because it's not important to know it as we, how can I say, it's the relationship we have with that, in that resonant relationship that creates something new. So it's not important that we say, why didn't I know this before? It's the relationship that the Creator wants us to have. So here I am, oh, I'm all excited, I'm meeting a part of myself, and I say, wow, if I'm resonating with that beauty in that person, that must be inside me. Ding! And the petal opens. Okay, then at the same level, we meet people who totally irritate us. The same feeling, our little aura starts vibrating, but now we call it irritation. Now we call it anger. All it's doing is exciting, but we're still being, our aura is still saying, there's something about this person that you have chosen to attract in order to know yourself. Now, this is not what this workshop's about, so I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But every time you get, your aura is either excited by somebody that you think is wonderful or irritated by someone you would wish they would go away, remember, they're a hologram. You have created them in order to know yourself. And it's as simple as that. And you do not need to forgive them, forget them. They don't exist. They're a damn hologram. They do exist, but not in the way you think. So what we do is we radiate our own image, and then we project onto someone what we perceive we need for them to be in order for us to know ourselves. I say that it's a bit more complex, but if you've got siblings in your family, you will find that you have a different relationship with your parents or with a situation than they did because they haven't projected onto that person their own holographic imprint. Make sense? Okay, so forget trying to change anybody out there. And again, yes, your mother and father and whoever, they all exist. I appreciate that, but not necessarily in the way you're seeing them. We see them in order to see ourselves, and therefore we often project onto other people what it is that we believe we need from them. So they exist. I'm not going to say they're all holographic, but it makes life simpler because every time you have a resonant relationship with anything in this world, you're meeting a part of yourself that needs to be met, dealt with. Sometimes it's like, okay, I'm not going there again. It doesn't mean you always have to say, oh, come home, you're lovely. But you do need to accept it as part of you. Okay, everybody, on that? Now, I'm going to have time for questions in a bit, but I just want to say, just hold your thoughts on this because I want to move into Mother Nature. Since I've been spending so much of my life working with this principle about meeting people, and of course, those of you who know my first book, which was Frontiers of Health, exactly the same in the body. So in your body, you have exactly the same resonance. So if parts of your body are trying to get your attention, they're also trying to have a relationship with you so you can have a conversation. but we also need to be doing that in nature. So let me just give you a little example around what is out in nature. There are what we call the Diva kingdoms. There is a Diva kingdom. And the Diva kingdom is a lineage of beings who are on a different timeline, a different evolutionary line than humanity. Now, there are many different species on this planet who do not have the same evolutionary pattern that we do. Everybody's on a different pattern, and I'll come back to that. But the Diva kingdom is made up of Pan, is the king of the Diva kingdom, who I've met in a props formation. But Pan is the diva, is the leader, then the divas, and then the elementals. And I want to explain those. They have the ability, where do I want to start? Okay, I say it this way. Pan, as the leader, is almost the mind, universal mind of the divas. And the reason that we have words like panic and pandemonium are so that we will not go into the world of the Diva kingdoms. There was a time where we would be so connected to the nature kingdoms. And I've found that anywhere I go amongst the indigenous people, how natural it was to talk to the Diva kingdoms, the wind, the clouds, the spirit. I'm sure many of you have had those experiences. But if we know that we are connected to all those other beings, we give less in faith to a religion. It's mainly been about religion. So the religions said, let's call Pan a devil. So when I met Pan, he has his horns and his clove feet. And I said, oh, you're the devil. He said, no, I'm Pan. It's like, okay, I was told you look like devil. And he said, no, this is why my name was changed. And that's why we got words like panic and pandemonium to saying, do not follow Pan. Because if you follow Pan, you might know who you are. You might realize that you are a light being, like every light being on this planet. And let me explain that. This planet is a very unique place to be. It is not a place that you were sent as a punishment. It is not a place that you say, oh goodness, can't wait to get off. I like to see it as a playground. So this playground has very unique conditions in it for creativity and evolution. So we call it the third and fourth dimension. But your higher self, said, let's go to this playground and let's have a very intense creative experience so we can free ourselves and have a great time. So many species, millions of species are on this planet at this time, all experiencing the same 3D, 4D playground experience of creativity. But humanity had one thing that most of them didn't have, which was free will. So most species know that they come here, they have their experience, they leave, and they take the wisdom of the experiences with them. Humanity, however, said, hey, free will, let's create what we like. And then we got addicted. And we keep creating the same damn thing and staying in the same petal of creation, and we don't feel we can get out of it. So this journey, which is happening now for all of us, with this amazing 12,000 cycle that we're in with the galaxy, etc., which I don't want to get into, but we're in a huge shift of change, is to help us to let go of a belief that this is all there is. We need to remember that we, like every other species on this planet, are light beings who have chosen to be here, have put on a costume that is suitable for being here, but that at any point we can drop this costume and we return into our ethereal self. And 95%, I don't know why I've picked that, but 95% of us is living in the fifth dimension and above. So we've only got this tiny bit called our soul with its petals around it that is having this 3D experience. So the idea of saying, oh, I don't know what it's like to be in a fifth dimension above. Most of us have not come from this galaxy. Most of us are living multidimensionally. So keeping ourselves small, and for me, this is really important. So us to remember, first of all, I chose to be here. I chose to be here because this is a very intense, wonderful playground. And that I'm not trying to free myself of this experience. I can leave any time, but I cannot. This is one of the best places to grow, to know ourselves that we could ever find. That sound good? So don't allow yourself to get into an idea that, oh my goodness, I've done something bad. Forget karma. You've done nothing wrong. That's all just bullshit. All right? You're not here to sort out karma. That's just someone else telling you why you're such a bad person. You're all brilliant, enlightened beings who have said, let's go down there and have some fun, because this is the way I'm going to be able to do this. And this is why we're here. Okay, so Pan is the overview of all of this. And Pan is saying, look, I can teach you how to leave this dimension, or recouple. They call it recoupling in quantum physics. Recouple to the universal light, if that's what you want. What are the divas? The diva, and this comes from Findhorn and Dorothy McLean, excuse me. Divas are angels. Now, some of you might have been brought up with angels. So angels are, you've got your ideas, but I like the idea that the divas are the architects of this world. So that when you choose to come into this world, you say, divas, could you design the perfect form? Of course, some of us look in the mirror and say, didn't do a good design, but could I have the perfect form to be able to live this life? So they said, okay, Christine, do you want to be man or woman? Do you want 2 eyes or 3 eyes? I mean, basically the diva created the perfect form, which those of us who have studied subtle energies, this is called the etheric body. So the etheric body is designed by the divas for you to have this perfect form, just as they form a perfect tree or a perfect river. And they are able to shift consciousness, or frequencies of vibration, I should say, frequencies of consciousness, in order to bring all of that into my being now. The other interesting thing about the divas, they just then energize that etheric body. So they put the life force into that etheric body, so I am alive. The elementals are the workers who then bring all the materials to bring me into being, especially the materials that come from the elements. So some of them work better with the water element, with the earth element, etc. And here I am. Thanks to Pan, the divas, and the elementals, I'm standing here in my full glory. When we want to change something, especially around, maybe I want to change one of my petals, it's good to ask the divas, you can call them angels if you want, can you help me change one of my attitudes in my mind? Can you give me a different shape of how I think about things? And the elementals will say, oh, good, let's be more fiery. Give us some more fire. Give us some more earth. Let's bring it down to earth. So they all work together to help you to be a different type of person, if that's a way of me saying it. All right? The same happens around trees and rivers. So the divas shape the rivers. The elementals help it flow. So you can go into a forest, as I've often done, and even though the trees are there, they look alive, but there's no life force. Have you ever been to a forest like that? There's no life in the trees. Or you feel that this river is dead. And sometimes it's because humans have gone in there and we've messed up the system. And at other times it's because literally the energy has been pulled out of that place and taken to somewhere else. So we can ask, for instance, in my lovely garden, I'll say to the divas, can you bring a life force into my garden? Hey, roses need to grow. But sometimes they say, no, those roses need to die, Christine. We've taken the life force out of them. And I have to say that's exactly the same as they're doing with us. I've been around obviously as a doctor, many people who die, and I see the life force leave long before the body does. Because the way I describe it is the etheric body is like a bulb or a light on the outside. And when you've got the light on outside, all the moths gather around that light, and you think it's a ball of moth. But if you turn off the light, the moths disperse, and there is no ball of light or ball of moth. That's the etheric body. So the etheric body is the thing, the energy that is holding everything together. Once that's switched off, we call it death. But we can also do the same in a situation. If we ask the divas to withdraw the etheric energy that we're putting into that situation, they will pull it out and that situation will die. So working with the angels in this way helps us to work with this bigger picture that when we choose to pull energy out of what I'll call a holographic image that they've created, that situation dies away. Have you ever seen that in your life when you just don't put energy into something anymore or into a relationship and all of a sudden that person stops calling you? So whatever you put energy into, you are literally creating more of that hologram. When you say, oh, I'm finished, and you pull your energy out, that situation changes. If we have anger or rebellion towards a situation, I'm going to tell them what I think, I don't agree with them, you're just putting energy into it. If you want to change the fact that we have wars in the world, stop worrying about the wars in the world. Focus on peace. If you're angry at something, you just enhance it. All right, so that's so important to all of us to understand. Now, the elementals will help us, obviously. What I wanted to say is each of your organs in your body has a little diva, a little angel. So you can say, okay, diva of the liver. And then you say, elementals, come and help, support my liver. So each of your organs, each of your systems of the body all have these little workers in them. But in my work, I've done things called body talk, where I've asked the body to talk to me. They get so annoyed. They'll say, so why a stomach are you upset? And it says, well, I've put up with for 20 years them putting food into my body that they shouldn't eat. Today, I'm upset. I'm not going to do that anymore. So the body will rebel. It says, I'm sick to death of what they've been doing to me. So the elementals work with us until they realize this is no longer in harmony with the soul. And then they will pull the plug. And that's no different in any area of our life. Okay, I just wanted to give you that big picture. So we are light beings who have chosen to be here. We're working with the Diva Kingdom, and they are helping us, but they're not on the same evolutionary path. They are working in every area of nature, but there will be certain places they withdraw their energy because they just don't see it's effective anymore. It's not part of the plan. The Diva Kingdoms do not need us. We need them. And because they feel that we have not listened to them and therefore not listened to Gaia, sometimes they refuse to speak to us. So then this comes to my next phase of this talk I want to speak to, is how do we approach the Diva Kingdoms, or how do we approach Mother Nature? So I've already mentioned that we need to see her as much more of, we are her guests. So just as you would come into someone else's house, we need to approach with respect and appreciation. And those two things are really important. The next thing we need to approach with is playfulness. Being childlike. I always say I'm a curious, innocent child. If we go in with a fixed idea of what we're doing, she will shut down. Nobody will talk to us. And so those of you who have worked with me before, when we've gone out into nature, which we're about to do as a meditation, but we go out to nature and we say, can I talk to a tree? Often I hear the tree says, no, I'm not talking to you. All right. So you've got to ask permission, not just to talk to it, but is it interested in talking to you? And you've got to be interesting. So when you go to a tree or water, I always suggest you sing a little song or you do a little dance, because you have to get on the frequency of water and air, which is the trees, because they have a different frequency than stone. So when I'm walking or talking to stone, I hum. It's a lower frequency. Basically, you've got to amuse them. They're sitting there going, don't know if I want to talk to this human. So you've got to say, hey, I'm a really interesting human. Wouldn't you like to talk to me? And then they'll chat to you. It is also, I've heard the same when talking to ETs, but they want you to introduce yourself. Now, you don't, they don't want a long bio of what you've done in your world, but they want to know who are you? And in many indigenous cultures, that would be describing your ancestry. So you may never have done this. This isn't about going and getting your ancestry done. But my name is Page. So I come from a lineage of pages, as those of us in England know, means I'm a messenger. I'm a messenger. My mother's maiden name was Hawkins, which is why I have a hawk, which is also the messenger. So I kind of sense that I've chosen these names to be a messenger. So getting to know why you have chosen the names you've chosen and understanding why you chose that name. Hopefully you weren't just named after a football team or something, but beyond that, go but as far back as like, who are my people? And I went back into my people. They were all worked on the lands or were market gardeners. My family have all, worked around that. So I'm saying is, they want to know what is your lineage. That's what the ancestral people meaning, as I'm trying to describe here. Where do you come from? Because in many indigenous races, they say, if we know where you've come from, we know where you're going. We know who you are. So describing yourself in a doesn't, again, please, I'm giving a long explanation, but I'm really saying is make it short. Hello, I'm Christine. I come from a family of messengers. I'm a curious, innocent child. That's me. So finding the way you can introduce yourself is really important. And that's how they will talk to you. So here we have this energy of, I've come playfully, I'm introducing myself. And then you are, as I mentioned in the meditation, which we're now going to expand on, is where are you attracted towards? So one of the things I love doing is going out into nature, or if I'm doing a seminar, send people out into nature and say, something out there wants to talk to you. And you've got 20 minutes, and we're not going to have 20 minutes in this meditation, but it could be something you do afterwards, where you say, okay, I walk down this street, what is trying to get my attention? And often what you do is you'll walk by it and then come back again, and you'll say, that tree, I just want to go and be that tree, be by that tree. And what you're really saying is there's something in that tree's energy that I am resonating with, which may be opening you up unconsciously to a petal that needs to be opened. In other words, you're not going to get all the answers in one moment, but you might hear a little song, and you might get a symbol, or you may see a color, and all of a sudden something's awakening, and weeks later you say, that's funny, that tree said that to me. So something is dropped into your awareness, and weeks later, you realize something's changed inside you. All right, I'm giving you the quick version of that. But the key to this is you trusting your intuition. What is it that makes you know that you're resonating with something? It may be an inner knowing. It may be a tingling in your fingers. It may be your goosebumps. It may be your hair standing on end. Knowing your own psychic gifts and wakening them up so you are sensitive to them and that you trust them is imperative in this ability to have a relationship with Mother Nature. If we walk in there with a fixed idea of what we're going to get, nothing will happen. You could say something will happen, but you'll basically see everything on that same level. So you want to go in with an open heart, an open mind, not saying, I know what I'm going to get, but much more, I wonder what's happening. And if you're, as I say, connected to something, that's the right connection. All right. So let's do a meditation. Then we'll go into the breakout groups for about 10 minutes, and we're doing very nicely. But I want this, I'm going to, say that you've already done some of this work, but I will just introduce you to this as we go along. Everybody, if you want to turn off your camera, you can, if that helps you to meditate deeper. Otherwise, I'm going to be asking you to close your eyes. And as I've spoken about earlier, if you would just take a short breath in, long out breath down through your body. It's really important. This is an embodied experience, not a mental one. If your mind is active, you're just going to see what you already want to see. So short breath in, long out breath down through your body into the ground. Those of you with very active minds, it's sometimes helpful if your feet are on the ground to actually feel your feet on the ground. Can you breathe into your feet? And now, take your awareness to your heart, your deep heart again, which is beyond your heart chakra, the surface one. Take it deep into the same chakra energy. And now you can take yourself through your heart to anywhere in nature that you like going to. Pick one place that you feel very comfortable, where you feel that there is a life force. And as you're in this place, once again, feel your feet on the ground, the wind or the sun on your face. Listen to the sounds around you. Just feel the comfort of being somewhere you like to be. And let's just bring that energy I was speaking about. So in your heart, find that playful part of you. Be that childlike being who has no preconceptions. This is fun. Let's just do this. And put out a call, a silent call into the place where you are to say, I respect and appreciate Mother Nature. And just introduce yourself generally. And I'm going to suggest that you ask a simple question out into the nature place where you are. Just as, not about them, but something that's going on in your own life. A how to, or what, or when, something simple. And we are now going to approach a different member from the 3 different nature kingdoms. Let's call on the mineral kingdom first, the stone kingdom, the rock people. Move from where you are if you need to, in terms of walk around. And allow yourself to become resonantly, psychically connected to some rock, some stone, some mineral that is close to you in this place of nature. It may be a pebble, maybe a piece of sand, it may be a huge mountain. Allow yourself to feel the psychic connection of resonance. And please to go up to that stone, that rock, etc. and ask. You can say, I respect and appreciate you being willing to share with me. You can do a little hum if you wish. And ask your question to this member of the mineral kingdom. Hear the reply. Knowing you can always go back later, thank the member of the mineral kingdom. And turn around or move away and ask to talk to a member of the plant kingdom. Anywhere from a tiny plant to a huge tree. Again, walk around if you need to. Feel, is there a resonance? You might walk past and then go back again, but feel your body vibrating as you come close to something that resonates with you. Once again, say, I respect and appreciate you being willing to talk with me. Maybe you do a little dance, sing a little song. And ask your question again and hear the reply. Again, knowing you can go back at any time. Move away and ask for a member of the animal kingdom to come into your environment. Maybe an insect, maybe a bird, maybe an animal. Again, move around until you feel a resonance with something in the animal kingdom. Say, I respect and appreciate your willingness to stay with me, to have a relationship, and ask a question and hear the reply. Knowing you can again return at any time to talk to any of these different kingdoms and other beings in this natural, beautiful, magical place. Give thanks for their presence. Thank them for allowing you into this magical place. And then gently bring your awareness with all the ideas back with you into the room where you are. Opening your eyes when you're ready. So apologies if we went fairly fast, but I just wanted to give you the lay of the land. You could also talk to clouds and streams and anybody else that was there. We're going to give you we're going to divide you into three groups, groups of three, and we're going to give 10 minutes for you to talk. That should take us nicely around to the 15 after the hour. And so we'll be bringing you back for our last little piece, which will include questions if you have them. So enjoyed that. I hope you're now all inspired to go rushing around the countryside. But make sure you write down what you're getting. And I think the important, I've given you instructions of how to do it, but recognize that when you go to, let's say, a sacred site especially, but when you go somewhere, you don't want to repeat a petal that is already open. You want to be being made more conscious. So you want to go in with that open mind and saying, whatever you think I need to hear or experience, let it happen now. Does that make sense? Don't go in and say, this is what I want to see, because you're just going to see what you believe already. So go in empty-minded, let me experience all that I am now. And the universe will provide. But that will mean that because our brains are very slow, or mine is, it means that we may only say, oh, there was a dragonfly flew by, or I got this song came into my mind, or I saw this symbol. Try not to look it up and say, I wonder what that symbol means. Try to let it go through your right brain, which is where it goes into, and it will waken up your consciousness, your DNA, because symbols wake up consciousness, sound wakes up consciousness, color wakes up consciousness. Make sense? So try not to rush to the Google or whatever you do to find main meaning of it. Now, one of the other things I like to do, and I know, this would be more with animals than trees, but it can be, I'll ask, what were the 3 adjectives you'd use to describe that animal? And if you say like a cat, each of us will have a different description of a cat. It's beautiful, or it's soft, or it snarls, So what the very first 3 words that you use to describe something are the words that are also waking up part of your consciousness. All right. And sometimes I'll say, so where is that fox in you? Or where is that cat in you? So just play with the idea. Sometimes even if you want to imagine yourself being that fox and looking through the eyes of the fox, how would that feel? So you're trying to shift your consciousness by changing places with a tree. How would it feel to be that tree? Because you're trying to get out of this identity that we've got caught into, is I am a human, I'm a woman, I'm this age, I do this. You want to be a tree because it breaks that pattern of belief system about you as a light being who is multidimensional, only choosing one particular facet through which to see yourself in this life. Make sense? Be a cloud, be a whatever. And everything is alive. So again, if you are going to be a cloud, ask the clouds if you can come and play with them. Go and play with clouds. I don't know how many of you play with clouds, but it's lovely to say to a cloud, hey, tell me something, or come with me, and they'll change their shapes. So again, with a purpose to being with this. I hope this is exciting you. The whole world wants to play with you. So I think it was Lynn, I think someone put a message about, are we living in a simulated world? Everything is simulated. The only thing that is here is I'll say your higher mind working through your personal mind. There is only your mind. There's nothing else here. This is the magic of this 3-dimensional world. I feel I'm touching something, but you're not. 99.9% of this universe, and including this earth, is plasma. It's just waves of intelligence. And that's all we are. It's just waves of intelligence. But it's our mind that says, no, this is solid. That little bit that won't break free. So my new book I've put a lot about quantum physics, because it's all about how did we ever get fixated and lost in this, what we call a solid world? And how do we reconnect to this 99% of plasma that is just everything and all and everything. Anyway, that's what I'm saying. This just then says to me, try not to say the world is, because you're only seeing it through your perception. There are millions of perceptions of worlds, billions. So in my perception, the world is. That's all you can say. My family is, my sister is, my dog is. It's from your perception. And if you want to change it, we could say change your mind. But but that's quite hard, because as Einstein says, you can't change the issue at the level it was created. So you can't change it at the level of the mind. You have to change it at the level either of the body or of spirit. But it's actually quite hard to change it at the level of spirit, because that's still part of our mind often, I'm sorry to say. So imagine, so if you want to change something, act as if you've already changed it. Dress as if you've already changed it. Walk as if you've already changed it. Live as if you've already changed it, and your mind changes. Changing your mind with affirmations is very tough, because it just keeps telling you the same thing. I'm sorry to say. There we are. Okay, thank you, Teresa. Yes, and I'm a tree, I know. My book's not yet got a publisher. I'm very hopeful, and it will, as the universe tells me, it will be whenever it needs to be. So I have no problem with that. Thank you very much. Now, any other questions before we got about 7 minutes? And I always say we need to make sure we stay with the universe's time. Yes, I see a hand, Diane. Yes, please, wherever you are. Diane, do you want to write? Do you want to say it? Yes, say it.
Just very briefly, I wrote down while you were talking, because you started off with Pan.
Yeah.
And kind of don't say blah, 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 Pan. For me, the pandemic was a blessing. And I'm still, 25 years later, I'm still going on about the pandemic as a blessing, and that's what we needed to use it as, and blah, blah. So it's my favourite. So for Pan, and I followed it, put blessing, and then life. We're going through a huge shift of change, and actually this is the best place to be. Have fun. So
lovely.
Yeah,
lovely. Thank you, Diane. You're absolutely right. I was only giving 2 examples of panic and pandemonium. Pandemic is also used in a negative way, which can say, this is affecting you, you can't escape it. So, but as you say, Diane, it was a great time. So I'm with you on that, my friend.
Thank you.
So let me just say in these 2 minutes, and thank you. Yes, Joe Dispenza's work, wonderful. Just to say, sorry, Diane, you said something. We have on the 20th of November, and you know this, Diane, many of you know, 20th of November, Pluto is going into Aquarius for the next 20 odd years. Last time it was in Aquarius was 250 years ago, which is actually for us, any of Americans, was when the Constitution was written. So this is very important for us, not the same time as the birth of America. So this constitutional issues are all coming up now, because this is really to do with Aquarius. Pluto in Aquarius means we are moving towards populous formation. This is what we're seeing is not, we're getting rid of the hierarchical systems. We're moving into egalitarian. We're moving into what they call unity through diversity, through the acceptance of diversity. So this is not a unification. This is a unification because we're accepting differences. But we first have to accept them within ourselves. So what's different about us are we not accepting? What part of us am I judging? What am I judging in myself? Deal with ourselves, and then we find unification. The Aquarian way is the way of self-accountability, self-responsibility, self-consciousness. 18,000 years ago, humanity was allowed into the multigalactic world. And I spoke to what is called the sleeping lady in Malta. And why did she fall asleep? And she said 18,000 years ago, humans were allowed to use their creative skills across the galaxy. But what they failed to do was to follow just 2 simple rules. One is take accountability for everything you create. We as humans create something and then we go, I didn't do it, wasn't me, it's their fault. And we need to go back and say, from this moment on, this is the moment I created everything in my life. And then say, why did I create it? My family, whatever it is that you might have issues with, if I am a mighty creator and I am very conscious of what I'm doing, then there must have been a good purpose for me doing it, and I want to work with that. That's what you want to tell the universe. So you understand? Say, okay, it pisses me off that I did that, but hey, why did I create it? All right? You don't have to like it, but you do need to own it. All right, and stop trying to forgive everybody, because you're trying to forgive a hologram. It doesn't exist. Okay, all you've got to understand is what one of my petals was awakened because of that experience. That's called wisdom. What is the wisdom of that experience? Secondly, is the sleeping lady said we need to stop possessing everything in this damn playground. It's not ours to possess. And she said we couldn't stop humans wanting to gather everything in as if it's mine. So we need to take ownership of what we do create and let go of everything that it does not belong to us, so that we can move out. Otherwise, we're going to be fine. All right. So don't follow anybody. The only people you need to follow are people who teach you how to fish. You do not want to get fish given to you. So you want to find yourself. Anybody who's trying to say, follow me, say, no, you need to teach me who I am, not who everybody else is. And that's all that matters. There we are. Very good. All right. So I know I'm right on time. I'm just going to say, Gina, if I may, if you want to know anything more about me, go to my website, christinepage.com. And may I follow off with a meditation? Is that okay, Gina? Did you want to say anything else?
I want to say fab, thank you, and yes, do.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, just as it's a small meditation, folks, so please just, once again, you know how to do this. If you want to take your cameras down, close your eyes, take that nice breaths, quieten your mind. I know I've been feeling it. All right. Take yourself, please, to your deep heart. And see yourself now by a big tree. Here's my big trees again, a very big tree, whatever you fancy. But I want you to now put that sphere of light around yourself, that aura, we might want to call it. And here you are in the center of your orb, in the center of your sphere. And as you stand there, and you are standing, you can be whatever, a door opens into the trunk of the tree. It's a portal, a doorway. And I now want you to enter into the trunk of that tree, and you can either roll down through the roots, or you can climb down, whatever you want, but allow yourself to move down through the roots of this tree, through the roots, all the way down, and then now you're in what we call the dragon lines. This is like the blood vessels of Mother Earth. You're flowing through the blood vessels of Mother Earth. And then you come to her heart at the core. And you are this sphere of light. And you realize her heart is a sphere of light. And your edges, the edges, your circumferences of your circles are just touching. And now you go, make sure you're in your heart and you feel this deep, deep joy and love in your heart. The joy of being part of the universe, the joy of being part of this earth, the joy of being one of Gaia's children. And as you feel that joy, you realize there now is no separation between you and the heart of Gaia, the heart of the earth. You are in her. You've always been in her. You're now part of her heart. And as you find yourself as part of her heart, you realize suddenly that with this feeling of joy, this feeling of love, this feeling of connection, you realize you're now and she is within the sphere that we call the sun, our star. Russian dolls within Russian dolls. And now within that sphere, through the power of love and joy, we're in the center of the galaxy. The heart of the galaxy. And you're seeing all these different spheres, all parts of who the whole is. Totally connected, flowing between each other. And now we move through the galaxy into the center of the universe. We are one with that original dot that I spoke about. That dot within a sphere. We never were separated. We were never alone. We were never unloved. We've always belonged. We just forgot. But now we are remembering and coming home to the heart of all that is. Now just to bring you back, bring that knowledge back through the galaxy, the heart of the galaxy, the heart of our star, the heart of Mother Earth, into your heart as you move back up through the blood vessels, beautiful dragon lines up through the roots of the tree, come up into the trunk of the tree, and come back out through that portal until you're standing in your sphere of light, enriched by your experiences. And then finally, bring yourself back to the room where you are. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, Gina. Thank you so much, Judy. Bless you all.
Thank you, Christine. If we all say thank you, Christine, put yourself on gallery view and see everybody sharing and saying.
I've got everybody on gallery. That's why I can see their beautiful faces.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Blessings to you all. Take care. Enjoy nature.